Hey guys, how are you doing? This is Zeb from Zed Outdoors and I hope you're having an awesome day. So today I'm with the talented and delightful Oren Hetzroni. Oren, how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you Zed. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Now, if you're not familiar with Oren, Oren is a very talented spoon carver who's currently visiting the United Kingdom. While he's passing through London, we've had the opportunity to meet up and more importantly, have the opportunity to film Oren. I've been wanting to film Oren for years now, but kind of trying to find when the stars align in terms of logistics has been kind of challenging over the years. But fortunately, we've been in a position on this visit around that while Oren has been passing through London, we have the opportunity to meet up and film. Now, we are going to get into Oren's background and kind of what he does, and you're going to be able to see more of the work that he's doing. Now, in this particular video with Oren, what Oren is going to be kindly demonstrating is his entire process from start to finish on how to carve a spoon. Now, a couple of things to mention before we get on with the meat and bones of this video. Number one, as you can see, this is quite a lengthy video. That's because Oren is going to hold nothing back and show the entire process. Now, to help facilitate that, what we've done, we've broken this video down into different chapters. Now, if you hover along the timeline, you can see all the different chapters marked out. The chapters are also listed down below in chronological order. Now on the left hand side you will see the corresponding times. Now YouTube has a very cool feature. When you click on that particular time, the video will jump straight to that section. The reason why that's helpful is as you move forward, use this video as a resource material. Instead of having to manually scroll through to find a section that you want, you can just jump to that straight section using the outline down below in the description. Secondly, what I'm going to do is, needless to say, is put links to Oren's social media and website where you can find out about the plethora of work that he does, and we will be getting more into what it is he actually does later on in the video. And finally, I do need to say a huge thank you to Deborah Schneebly-Morell, because it's her allotment that we're filming out, and she's very kindly helped us get set up and use this as a location to film this video. If you're not familiar, I have done videos with Deborah previously on my channel, an absolutely wonderful, talented lady, but we just need to take a moment out to say thank you to Deborah for her kind hospitality during our visit down today to film. Now, the final thing I will mention, this is not something we're going to guarantee, but our hope is that as well as filming this video, our hope is that we are able to film a second video. We're not going to say what that is just yet, because like I said, we don't want to make promises. Logistics are quite tight at the moment in terms of filming today with Oren, but our hope is that we are able to film a follow-up video. If we are successful in filming that follow-up video, the link to that will be down below in the description. So Oren, with your kind permission, shall we begin?
Let's do it.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed the rest of this video where Oren Hetzroni is going to be teaching you how to carve a spoon. So Oren, before we take a moment out to kind of look through a selection of spoons, etc. that you have carved, for those that are not familiar with you and your background, would you like to talk a little bit about your background, what it is you do, as well as your journey into spoon carving?
All right. Well, I'm Oren, as you introduced earlier. I live in Israel in a small farm. It's a family farm. I'm fifth generation in this little homestead. And I have a background in art, design. I studied industrial design in Bezalel Academy of Art and Design. My day job is a product designer. I do everyday household products. My specialty is toolboxes. I've been doing toolboxes for, let's say, 14 years now, something like that. Mostly I do toolboxes for Milwaukee Tools. If you're familiar with toolboxes that interlock and systems like that. But that's more of my side hustle. My real passion has been spoon carving for quite a long time. I kind of got into it after I finished my studies. I was really into wood turning. My grandfather was a carpenter, my great-grandfather was a carpenter, and I got into turning, and I got his old lathe. After watching a video on the BBC of Robin's pole lathe, I was really intrigued. The lady was interviewing him, and she says to him, "Where'd you get these special tools?" And he turns to the side and says, "What do you mean? I forged them right here." And my mind was blown. I was like, my goodness, he does like the entire process from the tree, including the tools to get a finished product that he actually uses and turns himself. I was blown away, and I said, I have to be a part of this. So I took a course in blacksmithing. I made myself an axe, a hook tool, a knife, and it just fell down this endless rabbit hole of green woodworking. It really came in the right time for me. I had young kids at the time, and wood turning was more of an investment in time. I had to put on my work clothes, go into the shop, get dusty, come in, take a shower, and with spoon carving, I could just do it anywhere. I could get that fix of creativity, of making something on the go. I could just do it while watching them on the playground, or in the kitchen while I'm playing with them a game. I could just pick it up and do a little bit, and it didn't take much investment. I could just do it anywhere, and there's that quick fix, that quick catharsis of finishing up a spoon and it's done. I could just do it every day, and I was hooked. There was no looking back. And then, of course, I watched more videos and came over to the UK for Spoonfest, which is what I'm visiting here for now. And it's been a long journey since then. Now I'm teaching at Spoonfest, which was, I idolized these teachers when I got there. The people got into such details and could just get into it so much that they could pass their process along. I'm so happy to be part of that now, that I can do it myself. And in addition, I run a spoon club back home, which is really, it's what it's all about, really. It's all about the people and the community. I feel that people that carve spoons have a certain need that they get fulfilled from this, just like I did, and it filled a certain void for me at a certain time when I needed it. It's the kind of thing that when you need it, it's there for you. And then people come on Fridays, every Friday. It's been going on for years now, with kind of breaks in between in COVID. But every Friday, well, except today is Friday and I'm over here. I'm sure there's a few spoon carvers in my yard right now carving spoons without me there. But every Friday, this is what people are looking forward to at the end of the week, which is amazing.
That's lovely. Thank you so much. Even I learned a few things, and I've known you for a while. So kind of looking at the selection over here of some of your carved items, I think it's worth mentioning that obviously, like you said, you've just come back from Spoonfest teaching, that you have obviously sold a lot of your wares. These are kind of the few things that you got left. So where would you like to begin to talk about some of the things you've carved?
Well, my shape has evolved. The shape of the spoons, the design has evolved through the years. I feel that it's kind of more refined and kind of more what I look for in a shape, a mix of an organic form with kind of this harmonious symmetry in it. But one thing I think I'm known for more is putting different little animals on my spoons. So this is a snail finial. Snails are usually my thing. I've always just adored snails. It's been kind of a passion of mine. I thought I would be an entomologist when I was a kid. Just mollusks in general have always attracted me for some strange reason. But I kind of look for inspiration around me, and living in a small farm, I find it in many different areas. In the spoon carving world, we get a lot of our inspiration from Scandinavian designs, and I felt that I'm very distant from it. My local surroundings, living in Israel, isn't exactly that sort of forms. So I go to a lot of museums and see a lot of Bronze Age work and different things that have inspired me along my journey, and found that so many of the different wares around there have different local animals on them, different whimsical things. So I've kind of tried to incorporate that a little bit in my work. So my frog cup here is a good example. I've done a lot of different frogs on different things. This one keeps the flies from my coffee, and the chicken scoop, of course, because I love chickens. If anybody's seen any of my videos on Instagram, you know the chickens are a big part of my life. So the chicken scoop is definitely a kind of combination of my everyday kind of surroundings and my work. Lately I've been doing a little bit more of other things. I'm exploring different kinds of woods. The woods we have are a little bit more tropical, warmer weather woods than you would have here. Some of them are a little bit tougher. They grow a little bit slower. We don't have the amount of water that you have here, so they take their time and they kind of twist and warp, and then it's a challenge sometimes to get the spoon out of it, especially when I'm dealing with things like making a fork. This one is an oak with a little bit of underbark showing here. So there you really want to have very specific characteristics that you're looking for, but maybe we'll be able to explore that in a later video. So this is roughly what I'm doing, and I think in today's video we're going to do one of my classic shapes. I think that most people know this specific template that I've been using. And we'll go through the step-by-step process. I try to keep a very methodical system of how I make my spoons. I think that really helps, especially since I do a lot of teaching, and I can see how that holding on to very specific steps along the way really helps people get up to where they need to be and not lose track especially with organic forms.
So Oren, we're going to begin the actual process of carving a spoon. So where are you going to begin?
First, it's with wood selection. So here I chose a very straight piece of cherry. It really looks lovely. I love the color. I love cherry. It's something I don't really get back home. So whenever I'm in Europe, I right away go for it. I can see it's straight grain. You can see here the crack that started out right there where the wood starts to dry already. You can see it is parallel in the other side, meaning that I'm not going to have too much twisting. I do see a little bit of rot right here. We will split it open and see how it looks on the inside, but I'm guessing this is going to be really lovely wood to work with. And cherry is fairly predictable, which is something that I want when I'm filming a video, because I don't want to embarrass myself. I want it to work well on the first try, but it does happen. You open up a piece of wood and you don't really know what you're going to get. This is organic material. Every piece is individual, it's different. You might have had great success with a certain piece of wood on the same tree, one branch this direction and the other branch the other direction. This one might be hard, this one might be twisty, this might had a lot of stress throughout its life, and you can see it. Sometimes you take advantage of it and you get beautiful pieces in the wood thanks to that. It builds a lot of character. So I'll start out by thinking where I want my spoon to be oriented inside. So I'm going to have the bowl facing up. I just like the effect that it gives in this gradient that's symmetric from the bottom going up into the handle. Since this is a big piece for an eating spoon, I'm going to be able to play around with a little bit of a deeper crank here, and I can get more effect inside the handle. I'll talk more about that after I square it off into a usable piece.
One thing you mentioned off camera as we were setting up for this shot is that normally when you're kind of carving wood, you like to maximize how much you can get from one piece. Would you like to touch on that briefly?
Well, usually I'll try to use every little piece. Let's say the spoon would go here. I'd make a teaspoon from this side, another teaspoon from here, and maybe a few scoops from the offcuts. But very privileged here in the allotment with a lot of beautiful wood. So I'm going to be very liberal with this piece of wood. I'm not going to be stingy like I usually am at home. I'm going to start out with the fro. I'll place it just where the crack is as it is. I'll pick up this beautiful mallet of Deborah's. Check that out. Beautiful. All right. Now, there we go. Now I'm going to take off a little bit from each side just because this piece has been sitting for, maybe it's been about 3-4 days. So it's starting to dry in these areas right here. I'm going to take off maybe 3 fingers from each side. And then I'll have my piece that I'll start working with. So the next tool I'm going to need is my trusty silky folding saw.
Just before you do that, so for the benefit of those watching who are wondering, well, why are you going to saw the ends off and it's dry? Why does that matter in the spoon carving process?
Well, the issue is with green wood. The reason we're really using green wood and not seasoned wood is because it's just easier on the body. The wood, when it dries, it hardens. In addition to hardening, it kind of shrinks up. So it kind of pulls into certain areas that, and then it releases the fibers in other areas, and that causes cracking. Cracking and warping. So I want to use the center of it, which is still has a lot more water in the fibers themselves. So it starts to dry out from the corners. And then this area might be a little bit more brittle. It might be a little harder. I don't want it to be compromised. I'm going to put in a lot of work into this spoon. I want to come out with a spoon that will last for a long time. So the process in green wood is to get it down to an even thickness of wood, as slimmed down as I can. Then there's a lot less warping and fibers pulling into different directions and causing cracking. So I'm going to try to remove as much material as I can. And I'm starting out with these 2 corners. Okay, so as you can see here, the rot does go a little bit further in than I was hoping. So I'm going to place the orientation of the spoon right there, meaning the spoon is going to sit like that. So the handle will hover over this rot area, and my crank is going to go down here. So
why is it important to not include the rot for the purposes of those watching?
It probably is going to be a very brittle area. You can even feel it with your fingernail that it's very, very soft. It can kind of fall apart. So you want to stay away from things like that. It will just, the spoon won't last as long as you would like it to. Might not even last the entire spoon carving video. So what I usually do is break this down into very basic forms of a top view and a side view. I find that anything that I want to bring from my imagination or from something that I've sketched out and make it into a 3D form, to keep things on track, I break it up into very simple shapes first, very basic geometric shapes, and then slowly I break those down till eventually I have my rounded off form that I'm looking for. So my first step now is going to be making the top of the crank. There are many ways to make a spoon. Some people do it bottom up. I do it top down. So I'm going to make a little cut right here, which is going to be a stop cut, meaning when I'm axing from this direction to this direction, I don't want this bit to fall off because this bit is an undercut. It's inside the valley. Whenever I'm working, imagine the grain orientation runs this way. So if I'm axing this direction, this whole piece would want to disconnect. So I work the same as water flows. This is the top of my mountain right here. These are the ridges. And I'm going down and working towards the valley. So to keep that from cracking and falling, I'm going to make a stop cut right down to here. One thing to remember when you're making a stop cut is usually when we're sawing, we're working in this direction just because we're putting our shoulder into it. Even though we're using here a Japanese saw, meaning it's a pole saw, I pull backwards when I'm putting in the force. Still, this is a more ergonomic direction to work, so it's natural for us to work this way. But if I'm sawing this way, I'm going to get a stop cut at this angle. I have to make sure I'm working parallel to the ground, that the depth on this side and the depth on this side are equal. One thing you can do is take your pencil, mark the depth, and keep hold of it like this so you can get the same depth on the other side, and then I know where to stop. Okay, my next tool is going to be my trusty carving axe. This one is made by Kalthoff in Sweden. I just love this axe. You really can use any axe to carve, but there's something about an axe that you fall in love with, and it just becomes an extension of your body. This one in particular, I really like the form in general, but something about the balance and the length of it really works with me well. So try out a lot of axes, find out what axe you're happy with. One tip I got when I was starting out, a friend said, just get a really good handmade forged axe. You're going to eventually anyway. I did the same thing everybody does, and I started out with a very basic axe and just took one step at a time and got a nicer axe and a nicer axe till I got the axe that I really love. But you can just go ahead and get a really good axe, because you will eventually anyway. So when I'm axing, I'm trying to work a little bit further away from my hand. I kind of tilt the wood accordingly because you want the impact to go straight down into the axing block. This axing block has a little rest right here, which really helps, and it gives it a little bit of extra support, especially when you're axing the longer side. You just have that leverage that pushes back. And then I'm going to release some material. I do this little twist right here to pop the pieces out up to the stop cut, because I don't want to accidentally hit the stop cut. Down to there. Just be careful not to hit the bottom. Even a slight tap can sometimes cause a little crack to form. We don't always see it. It feels like it's healing, it closes up, but this crack could show up later. Last thing you want is to finish up your spoon, let it dry, and then put it in some warm broth, and then the crack just suddenly show up later. It's a real shame. The next direction I'm going to work is on this. This one is a little bit more dangerous because it's closer to my hand. So if I was axing up here, I might risk hitting this area. So what I'm going to do is turn it over to the side, keep my hand far away from it, and axe right here. So I pull it out towards the edge of the axing block, so I have a deeper area that I can go to, more clearance right down here. One tip I can give about this is don't start out where you want to finish the axing. Move in, and just slowly you'll have that guide to move in closer and closer. Just make sure you keep your hand far enough away. The last thing you want is to hit this area. You can put your arm like that, or if you have this extra support, just move it around till it sits nice and firm, and then it's not gonna run away from you. Of course, you don't have to have this support in an axe block to work, but it really does help. It's nice.
So you're leading in with the tip of the axe, yeah, to guide you through.
Exactly. It's a little bit of the tip and this side right here. So I'm kind of biting over here and letting it slowly guide me in, so I don't accidentally miss and hit in the middle. Now I turn it over a little bit to clean it up. All right. Now I feel more confident to get this area in like that, because I have this nice rest in this area which is guarding my hand, and I can clean it up. One thing to remember in this step, and which you're going to need to look at throughout your spoon, is making sure that these two are parallel. It's very easy to suddenly get a twist like this. Our body isn't completely symmetric when we're working. We kind of have a natural twist that we get, especially when we're looking from the top. We're trying to get things 90 degrees, but they sort of open up like that. We just have to be aware of it and then overcompensate a little bit and correct it. I can see that this area is just a little bit higher than this area, so I'm just gonna take that down a wee bit just so I get a really nice clean side profile. Notice my stance is a little bit more of a loose stance. My legs are far apart, so I'm standing very steady. You don't want too much of that impact running through your body, especially when you're doing a lot of spoons. All right. I'm going to take this down a little bit. I want a little bit more color in my handle, and I feel this crank is a bit pronounced for what I want. I kind of exaggerated and with the size of this and depth of this piece of wood. So I'm going to just remove a bit more material from up here. Okay, so this area is all nice and clean. I have an exaggerated side profile that I can start with my start kind of top viewing the spoon. So I'm just going to grab my template to help me draw it out quickly, and then I'll rough it out. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to be drawing out my spoon.
So with this one here then, Oren, when it comes to drawing out your spoon design, what is your approach? Do you do it freehand? Do you use templates? Do you do a bit of both?
Well, I do a little bit of both. I like to use a compass. I like to try to make it as symmetric, as straight, as precise as I can. It'll turn out wonky on its own. It doesn't need me for that. But I'm going to try to achieve something as straight as I can. Usually what I do is I draw out my spoons in a sketchbook. I think of ideas. I see a spoon that I've done and I'm happy with, so I copy it, I put it on a piece of paper, I draw it out, and then I make these templates. Then I can try to refine my spoon every time. I redraw it, make a little adjustments to the templates. I find that the template helps me achieve kind of what I'm aiming at. There's many ways to do spoons. You could freehand it, you could just carve it out, but I find that this really works for me, and it really works as a teaching aid, especially in the beginning when you want to hone your technical skills. This really helps you center in every little while, so you could just do a bit of the spoon and then take off the whatever it is that you drew, put it back on, and do it quickly again. You don't always have a center point to guide you, and a loose template like this really helps. There's many different resources that you can get templates for. I'll just show you when I'm putting in the template, I kind of use the golden ratio rule, and I place it at roughly around the 2/3 of the bowl. This is where I want my crank. There are spoons that the crank is more in the back, and then it's like that. In the case of my spoons, I like it somewhat like this. So this is roughly where I place it. I know that some templates have the mark where the crank, a suggestion of where the crank should be. Another thing to remember is to make sure that you're placing it with the grain. So I kind of move it a little bit till I see that it looks like it's directly aligned with the grain. And I think about what I'm going to have. So let's say if I had a knot right here, I wouldn't place the handle right in the knot unless I wanted it as a decorative, or I wouldn't do it in the bowl, or definitely not in the corner of the bowl, because then I would have a risk of that area not being as strong as I would like. The bowl is a very sensitive area. So I place my template like that.
So just a quick side question for those watching is, why is the alignment of the grain so important?
So imagine that I put my spoon this direction. What I would have here, if this was my handle, I would have grain running this way, and then it wouldn't be as strong because I would have short grain. The fibers are held together essentially with wood glue. They're just connected one to the other, and that area, if I put some leverage to it when I'm lifting the spoon, it would crack, or if I'm washing it a little harder than I should be. So orienting the spoon in the same orientation as the grain gives it that strength that I'm looking for. I was starting to say that not everybody is comfortable drawing out their spoons. There's a lot of aspects to spoon carving. You don't have to be a pro at all of them. If there's an area that you don't feel that comfortable doing, then put it aside and take your time learning it. If you don't feel comfortable drawing out your spoons, you think that you're just not good at it, then there's plenty of resources for templates out there. You can go online. There's in Rise Up and Carve, a site that has a bunch of spoon templates. They do a spoon challenge every month with a different spoon carver, gives out their spoon template. There is spoon templates like this that are already cut out for sale. The Spoon Crank sells a bunch of these spoon templates that are cut out. You can get a variety of different styles of spoons by different spoon carvers around the world sent to you. They're very, very useful, and you can mix and match. You could take a bowl from one and a handle from the other and make up your own designs. So even though this is a template that I designed, and this is what the spoon turns out when I use this template, I've seen a bunch of different carvers around the world using this specific template, and their spoon looks completely different. So the template just gives you really a top view with a suggestion of a side view, but each person does their facets a little bit different, rounds it off a little different. You end up with your own spoon, really, even if you're using one of my templates or somebody else's. I'll be happy to put on in my my website a bunch of my templates to download. What I've done till now, people have sent me a message and I email them a PDF, but I'll put a link there, and then you could just download any of the templates that I have out there free to use if you're interested.
That'll be amazing. So just to, actually that would be awesome. I think that will help people out quite a bit. So just to mention, what I'll do, I'll put a link below. So Oren will kindly, at the time of this video going out, will make this particular spoon template and other templates available on his website. And I'll put a link down below so you can access those and use that as a resource and use his video to kind of carve along with it. So thank you so much for that, Oren.
My pleasure. I'm just happy people are going to be doing more spoons. So my next step is kind of bringing this in a little bit. I'm going to do the sides just a little bit closer, and then I'm going to go on to the side profile just to bring it in. So the side view is going to be something like that as well. It's just going to be parallel to the top view that I have here. So it's just going to be a nice little curved side view, which I'll be axing away. Right now I'm giving some power cuts. The difference is just the way that I'm holding the axe. The further back I hold it, the stronger the hits I can give, but it's a bit of a risk management here because the area where I'm going to be hitting is going to be a little bit bigger, so I'm not going to get as close to the line I drew. So I can get a lot more power in every hit, but I'm risking getting close to the line. And then once I get closer, I just change my grip and choke it up a little bit. When I'm choking the axe, I have a lot more control, a little bit less strength, but a lot more control. And then I can get much closer to the line, as you can see. As before, I'm making sure I'm not hitting anywhere near my hand. I am doing it at the bottom part of the spoon, further down here. And when I'm ready to get that area, I just flip the spoon around, or the blank around, and then I can get closer to this area and I'm far away enough from my hand so I don't take a risk and hit it. So now I'm going to do the side view. I did draw my spoon out a little bit further from the edge here. The reason I left extra material here is this impact of axing can kind of mess up this whole area. It does get a lot of impact, so I don't want any cracking close to the bowl. So I left that for my strong cuts right here, and now I can come in close and remove that from side to side. Close around here. Now I'll flip it over and do this side.
So you're working your way up to the line of the template, yeah?
Yeah, I want it to end up being as close to the line as I can. Essentially, I want it to look as if it was cut out with a bandsaw or just a laser cutter right around here. I want it as tight as I possibly can, right up to the line, as close as I can with the axe. Every hit of the axe is a lot of knife work, so this saves me a lot of work and a lot of muscle power later. So this really takes off a lot of time. So in the beginning, it takes some training. You do have to make a few spoons before you can get really up close with the axe. But it does get there, so just keep making spoons, keep practicing, and you'll just get better and better every time. You just have more control. The axe is a really fun tool. Just trust it and slowly build up your confidence and your hand-eye coordination with the axe till you get to a level that you can save a lot of time later on with your knife work. Now I'm getting down into this area. there is two ways to do it. What I'm doing now, which is just axing back and forth, the fear is that I'm going to hit here and lose the handle or lose the bull. The other way you could do this is make a little stop cut right here, just like I did before. So if I change the orientation of the spoon and imagine that this is a ridge and this is a ridge, and the water flows down to this valley right here, this area is the area that I would be worried about, because one wrong hit right here could mean I could lose this whole piece. So a stop cut could save me a lot right here. So I just grab my trusty saw again, make sure I'm slicing parallel to the ground. So as you can see, I made a little stop cut right here, and that's going to make it significantly safer when I knock this little piece out. There we go. And now, if I would be knocking this right here, I have too much leverage and it can go back and forth. I can't hold it as steady. So what I do is I just place it aside like that. You can't see what I drew out, but I can see it from my angle. So on one side, when I'm axing, I'm kind of bent over like this to see what I'm doing. And then when I flip it over and do the other side, I kind of lean over it to see what's going on right there. And this side, as you can see, I did a stop cut and it was quick and easy to get down to here. Here I kind of took off one step at a time, a little bit. And usually the reason I don't grab the saw is just because it's usually all the way over there and then I have to take a few steps to get it. This is the lazy man's stop cut. But it is risky, you know, you take risks in life, and this is a big one. So just a lot of back and forths, and there we go. That's as close as I'm going to get. Right here I'm going to remove these two sides just to bring that up.
So this is the back of the bowl, yeah?
That's right. So I'm tightening up this whole back, bringing it in. I am going to leave quite a bit of material right there, something between, I don't know, 9 and 14 millimeters around here, because the bowl is not going to be straight like that. I am going to round it off. It's going to be a curved tangent line like that, and I need this distance right here to be able to do that. So I need to leave enough material on both sides so I can have that play when I'm forming the side view, because it is going to be curvy like you can see in this, and to get that nice curves I need to have room to do it, and I do that with the knife. So that's going to be the next step. Right now I'm just removing more back of the bowl material. So a little bit more axing right here just to tighten it up. Here it can be a little bit less because I'm not going to go down as much. So towards the tip of the bowl I can remove a bit more material but leave enough right there. Same on the other side. Now a bit of the back. Now it's the same story right here. It goes up and gets sharper towards the end. This area I don't need. Now I could axe it at an angle here and here, but the impact at this area could jeopardize the fibers in this. So if I'm cutting cross grain, it's best to get up, go and grab your saw that's all the way over there. In this case, it was right next to me, so not a problem. Just one thing I want to say about sawing. Most of us, when we're grabbing an axe in the beginning, it's a little scary. It's a big tool, it's a big blade. We're very cautious with it. But for some reason with a saw is more familiar, so we feel that we can work with it without thinking too much. And a saw can be a dangerous tool. So just give it the respect that it deserves. A saw can jump and land in your hand, so try to concentrate while you're working with it. Make sure every pull is precise. Maybe keep your hand a little bit further than you think you can. Because I've seen some nasty injuries from a saw. It's a simple tool, but they do come very sharp, and if they jump onto your hand, it could cause some nasty damage. Their cuts aren't as clean and nice as a Sloyd knife, as a woodworking knife. All right, so I roughed out my my spoon. I can take off this a little bit more just to save me some work in a minute. There we go. Same on this side. There we go. I'm happy with that. Now I can move to the knife. This is the part where I sit down.
So Oren, with the axe work complete, what's next in the process?
To find a good place to sit down. A beautiful spot, because you're going to be sitting here for a little while. I feel that it's really split up into two, into the axing and then the rest. You could say also the finishing cuts is another step in the process, in the mental state you're in when you're carving. But for me, definitely the axe work, which is usually fairly quick. It goes by too fast. I really enjoy axe work, but as you get more experienced, it really goes by fast. It ends up being something that's, when you start out, can be maybe an hour of axe working, and then later it just goes down to a 5-minute process. So after I've found a nice spot to sit down and I have the things that I need right next to me, I'm going to grab my trusty Sloyd knife. Sloyd knife is what we'd call any knife with Scandi grind. Usually, there are other knives, of course, with a Scandi grind, a big flat grind or a hollow grind. But the Sloyd knives usually aren't as wide, which helps you get these concave cuts easier. So this is a nice Sloyd knife made by, for me, a local toolmaker named Yonatan Tamarkin. This was one of his experimental blades of, I believe it's ABL steel, so it's a little harder to sharpen, but I don't have to sharpen it as often. I'm not a big fan of sharpening. Some people love sharpening. For me, it's a bit of a chore. I try to strap as much as I can before I start working. I do need the knife to be sharp, and I'll do it usually before I do finishing cuts, just so I get a nice clean finish. But I'm not a big fan of sharpening, so that really helps with a blade like this that lasts a really long time.
So for those watching, just a quick side note, that are maybe in the early stages of their carving journey, or even just kind of beginning, is there a particular knife that you recommend? A Sloyd knife that is kind of readily accessible and quite affordable?
The Mora. Yeah, of course. Everybody starts out with a Mora, and some people just stick with it throughout their whole career. The Mora blades are great. They do the job. They're more of a production line knife versus these handmade blades. So you can get a blade for fairly cheap, and it's important in the beginning maybe to get a cheaper blade just till you get better at sharpening, because I think a lot of woodworkers wreck their first blades. They kind of convex it or chip it or mess up the angle in the beginning when they're starting to sharpen their blades. And sharpening is a really, really important skill to hone. So practice and practice, watch videos, take classes. You need to learn to sharpen properly. It's really important, and it makes the work a lot easier when you have a good sharp blade. So you don't have to have a fancy handmade knife to be able to carve spoons. I just really like this knife. You can get a Mora, just the blade, and make your own handle. If you have something that's more ergonomic or a fancy piece of wood that you'd like, make it your own. So at this stage, once I have the knife and I've axed out my blank, I'm just going to tighten up whatever I didn't feel comfortable doing with the axe. I usually begin with what I like to call the suicide grip, which is the grip that I kind of place the spoon against my chest. I have a lot of area that I can cover safely with the knife, and I pull towards me. This is why I call it the suicide grip, because I'm kind of pulling the knife towards my body. Important to remember when doing this grip is for the blade to face out and to tuck your elbow in. You don't want it up here, because then you're at risk of slipping. Once it's tucked in, this is kind of the axis that the knife is going to go, and then if you do slip, and the knife will always end up slipping and doing whatever it is journey that it can do, it will do. So just make sure it doesn't hit you once it does it. You'll have a piece and then it will release, and then the knife will go. So you want the back of the knife to hit your chest. So right now I'm trying to work perpendicular to the top view. I'm tightening everything up, going all the way up to the line, just like that. Getting it really nice and close, and then releasing the material right there. Same thing up here, right up to the knife. Right now I'm using what's called the potato peel with the guitar playing, meaning I'm pushing it with these fingers. Call it guitar playing because you get these calluses at the ends of your fingers from pushing at the blades, just like you would do when you're playing guitar. And this gives me a lot of strength. So, and control. Mostly what's important for me is the control in the cut. What I see with beginning woodworkers or carvers is that they push out like this, and then you don't really have that control. The moment you're using two hands, you have a lot more control. This hand is kind of the driving, and this hand is the one that puts the force in it. So I'm pushing with this thumb out, and then it doesn't fling out. You see, I can get nice curls, nice big cuts without losing control. And if I was pushing like this, the knife would just go out there and I would go right into your leg's head like that. So I'm not going to do it. But here I have perfect control. Where is it really important? Right there. A lot of beginners get that bumping into the base of the bowl right here, into the transition, and if I have control, then it's not going to happen, and I can remove material nice, safely, and closely with a lot of force and control. There we go, and then I just pop that off, and I can get really nice and tight. So what I want is to have my top view as close as I can, so I can move to my side view soon. I take each step as if it's the finished product. I want it to be as clean as I can get it, as precise as I can get it. If I consider every step in the spoon carving process as a finished work that I'm presenting, I don't know, to the class or to the master or whoever is I'm doing this for, it really helps me keep along the stages to be just like I want them to be. I don't kind of lose control. And if I'll say to myself, oh, I'll do that part later, I'll finish it up later, then I kind of let it go, and I come out with a sloppy spoon. This is the hardest cut because I'm cutting a lot of end grain right here. So this cut usually is the hardest for people. I'm going downhill here, and then I turn it around and work on the other side. I can flip my hand over and work with the potato peel also this way, or a push cut right there. Just check that I'm working close to the line. From the ridge and down. Okay, so if I'm happy with this top view and I feel it's clean and close enough, what people tend to do in the beginning sometimes is cheat. What do I mean by cheat? You want to get close to the knife cut, and you'll just to the line, so you'll just do like that and break a little extra facet right there, and you don't want to do that. You want it to be, like I said, perpendicular to the top view. So just look every little while, and you'll see that you will have a little bit of flaring out to the sides, just because we're kind of cheating ourselves and getting close to the line. Another thing that happens is, like I mentioned earlier, that when we're working, we have a tendency of overcompensating the angles a little bit, and you can see that a lot of times in the spoon. We get this angle like that, so we're opening it up this angle a little bit to here, and then when you flip it over, it's the same thing on the other side, and then you kind of get this kind of shape. So just be aware of it by lifting the spoon every little while, checking out that you're working at a right angle. So if I'm happy with the top view, I'm about ready to move to the side view. Now, to make this easier, to do this curve I'm going to do right here, I want to remove some material here. So I'm going to move to my hook tool. I can, if I feel the need, I can just draw for myself a rough guide of up to where I want to go. Now, this is not going to be my finished bowl, it's just to help me remove material. This is a beautiful hook tool blade made by also a local bladesmith in my area, a young guy named Avi Noam. I think you could put maybe a link to their sites in the videos, Ed, if that's all right.
100%.
And people can find them. So with the hook tool, what I do is the potato peel, and I reinforce it with a little bit of guitar playing right there, and then I can get really nice, strong cuts. Usually I go across the grain like that. Like I mentioned before, this is the direction you want to go, so you want to come from the top down, but because there is a valley right here where the grain meets at both directions, just to keep that from messing up, you can just go from side to side. Something that happens to a lot of begin carvers is that they try to attack it from the top, and this, just like most woodworking tools, you need that back rest. So you start out flat, you kind of raise it a little bit so it bites, and then you lean back on this end. So this blade is convex, that way it can do this tight turn into here, and I can take these beautiful cuts without getting any chatter. Chatter is when the blade has trouble coming out of the turn, and it kind of skips, and then you get these little cuts. So this blade really makes this job really easy and fun. Now, you don't want it to be too much fun. When we start hollowing out, we struggle a little bit till we find that really perfect spot where it's suddenly easy and fun to do. If you're having fun, stop, because you're going to go through the bowl really fast. That's my only rule in spoon carving. Don't have fun. So I roughed this out just so it'll be easier for me to do this side profile. Now I'm ready to turn and do the side view. I'll put this blade away just so it doesn't fall.
Just one quick question, and also for the benefit of the viewers. I noticed the handle on the spoon knife is slightly longer than your other handles. Is there a particular reason for that?
Well, this specific spoon knife, I didn't make the handle. Usually I like to make my own handles. A lot of spoon knives are traditionally longer handled just because we have that twist, so you need more room for the torque. You kind of lean into it. So the longer handle gives you the ability to kind of turn in. Similar to what you would have in a Tuca cam. So a Tuca cam is the traditional Welsh hook tool, and with the longer handle, the way I usually use it is I place it right here, and then I kind of lean into it, and I don't need to use a lot of muscle to put in a lot of force. I'm using weight, and I'm just kind of twisting in, and then I'm guiding it with my other hand, the opposite of what I would do usually with the knife that I'm guiding with this hand. So I'm kind of guiding it in and just putting in the force this way. So a longer handle can help you get more torque in, and you can put a lot more strength into your cuts. So now I'm moving back to my straight knife to do this side view. I'm just cutting in down to here. I don't know if you can hear it, but the cherry is a little dry. That's the noise you're hearing. With softer wood or greener wood, you wouldn't hear it like that. As you can see now, I'm getting this nice tangent curve flowing in. I don't have that sharp angle that I had before when I was axing out where the stop cut was. You see it's nice and flowing. And now I'm going to do the same thing in the handle. I want to check every little while and check that it's the same on both sides. I just raise it up and I see I have the curve that I'm looking for. This is a very pronounced curve. As I said, I was being very liberal with that piece of wood. At home I probably would have put one spoon on top of the other and taken out 2 spoons out of that one piece. But this would be a very nice crank right there. And now I'm going to do the side. Now to do the side, to make it easier, if this is roughly what I'm looking for, it's more just for the ergonomic feel, kind of flowing line like that.
What pencil are you using, by the way?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. This is a magic pencil. This was recommended by my friend George, and this is the story that I heard about this pencil. So when I'm drawing on green wood, we're drawing on something that's a little bit damp. So you don't always get these clean lines. If I was using just a regular number 2 pencil, probably wouldn't be able to really see anything. I could be using an aquarelle pencil, like a watercolor pencil, but then they smear. So this pencil was developed for, I guess, for a professional kitchen, for bartenders. When you order a beer in Germany, you're going to get it on a coaster, and then they're going to mark 1. And then you order another beer, they fill it up. They do 2, 3, 4. The coaster is usually damp, a little bit wet. You don't want it smearing. You want to be able to look at it and count how many pints you had. So that's what this was developed for. And it just works perfectly for green wood. I can draw on it and you see it really, really well, and it doesn't smear. Look at that. Now, you can't get this pencil anywhere. I know back home I cannot get this pencil. We do get other products by Faber Castell, but they don't sell this one. I've seen it in Italy, in Germany, and in Austria. That's the only places I've seen it. So check it out, look online. I really like it. There are other pencils that are similar, but that aim to do the same thing. Sometimes from the construction industry, there are companies that do pencils that will write on oil, will write on wet. They claim they can do anything, but so far this is the pencil I'm really happy with. All right, so this is a lot of material to remove, especially with dry cherry this direction, removing these kind of curls. So to make life easier, I'm gonna just take off a ridge like that in one corner and another ridge right here in this corner, and then it'll be easier for me to remove that because it's just a bit less material. And now I'm starting to get this nice little extra kick back here that I'm looking for. I like my spoons to be curvy. Now, since I went down from a very high point down low with that stop cut, what I get is I'm going through a lot of growth rings, which gives me this beautiful effect. I really like this fade out of color. It's almost like you get, if I would make it even more pronounced like that, I would get what's called a feather spoon, which is the effect you get when you connect these two lines together. It kind of causes, you see, it looks almost like a feather. But that's not what I'm going to be aiming for in this spoon. I'm going to do one of my handles, which is a 5-faceted handle. So that's the top one. That's a side one, and that's another one. And then I'm going to take off these two ridges later on when I tighten up the rest of the spoon. You can see it's not as precise as I would like it. This area is curvy and this area has this little bump right here. I will tighten all these little things, but all in all, I'm pretty happy right now with the top view. I do lose track a little bit here and there, and then I just have to bring it back in. Now I'm gonna go to the back and start bringing everything closer together. I'll mark it out just so I can explain what I'm aiming for. So right now I just can mark for myself a guide of how far I want to go up. So I am going to leave this area. That's the keel of the spoon. The thinner it is here, the more width you want here, especially in a spoon with a crank like this, which is not a crook piece of wood. If the wood was naturally turning this direction, and this area would be strong. Right now, this area could have very short grain running across like that. So I'm going to leave some width right here to help it stay nice and strong. So right now I'm going to cut outwards because this is a ridge right here, and this is the way the water would flow. Just like that. So I'm going to be cutting all that out. And the same I'm going to do with these ridges right along here, just like I did before over here. I change grips a lot. There's a lot of different grips I like for each little area. There's a grip that I prefer that I feel I can get a little bit more precision, a little bit more strength, but you could do the whole spoon with the basic 3 grips. Thumb reinforced push, potato peel, and well, this suicide grip, but now I'm going the wrong direction, so here. I'm still going to try to leave as much of this side view right here as I can, because I will need to refine it a little bit. So I want to leave this on both sides, leave a little bit of room for me to be able to fix up the side view of the spoon if I feel the need. But right here, from this point onwards, I want it to be the same width running through and the same shape. So I'm going to remove some material right there.
You almost have to like eating them whole, but they've got huge. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Try to keep these lines parallel as much as you can. When we're looking at a spoon or anything, really, we're always comparing one area to the other. So the highlights that run across where these facets are meeting each other is really what's important. It's what catches our eye. It's true when we're designing anything. It's true with car design. It's really important. Usually what you're looking for is highlights when you're doing car design or any kind of these flowing shapes. And in a spoon is like, I guess, a little bit like a little car design. You see these highlights, and what's important is how they react to each other. So where they go a little further or a little closer or move up and down and don't flow smoothly, that's where your eye is going to be drawn to, and that's where you're going to see mistakes. So try to look at them one next to the other and see how you can correct it and bring them closer, because that's what's really going to be important. So if you need to bring them further apart, you take off from here. You want to bring them a little closer together, you take off from this area, and you slowly refine it till you're happy with the way the curves flow with relation to one another. Okay, see this area? Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. So this whole facet is roughly the same one that runs all the way around to here. And the same thing here, this one is going to go all the way around here. It's very simple forms. As I said, I'm breaking it down to very specific, easy to follow geometric shapes that I can kind of control. And it's very easy to lose control once you're starting to try to do something very organic and free-flowing. This isn't like pottery that I can add material and remove material and add material. I'm only removing material here, and once you remove too much material, it's very hard to bring it back. This line flows out here and then kicks back following this one. It kind of just pulls out here, kind of like as if I pinched this area. I'll go back to that pinch a little bit later to refine it. It makes a big difference with pulling in all the lines. It just has to make sense to us as if it's material that was kind of formed, so it needs to react to each other. So if I'm pinching an area, I need the material to move somewhere. So I need that reaction in the form itself. Just my eye kind of expects it to happen, and we get this tension sometimes that can be unsettling when we're looking at something that's something we can use. Tension is something that we use in form and design very often for different reasons, but we also need to be able to learn to control it and understand it enough that we know kind of what's going on. It just helps us I don't know, maybe tell a story. It's a language that once you start understanding why you're making certain decisions, it helps you have a lot more control. Just look at other shapes and spoons by other makers, or just in general different forms that you like, and try to understand what it is that you like about them. There's something about this that doesn't feel right to me. It's stretched out a little bit more than I'd like, so I'm kind of bringing it in this way. So I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter until this little stop right here. Now, I mentioned earlier Rise Up and Carve. Rise Up and Carve is a site. Well, it's a Zoom channel really, more than anything. It started by Chuck even before COVID, but it really took off during COVID because people were sitting and carving at home alone and couldn't meet up. So a channel for carving on Zoom was exactly what everybody needed. And it was just a group that you could log into this Zoom channel whenever you wanted, and there was always a bunch of other carvers there, other people from all around the world. So I would be sitting in my home in my little farm in Israel, carving with a friend from the Netherlands, with a friend from Germany, with a friend from Switzerland, and another friend from the United States. And we just each in our little cube there, you know, just carving, usually silent, just each one carving in front of the other, like not like I'm doing now and chatting away while carving, but you know, we just have something in common, so we can talk about wood, we can talk about knives, we talk about shape and form, or just about anything else. A lot of times I think people that carve spoons have a lot of things in common as it is. It kind of takes a certain kind of person that goes into spoon carving. So I think I said before that it really brings people together because it's like-minded people. So they started after, I don't know when they started it. I joined into COVID. They already had these, they call them spoon challenges, and then each carver would design a spoon and then do a video of or a show on Zoom how they like to carve that spoon, give out a template, and now that all those templates are on their site. I don't know what number they're at now, but last time I checked, I think we were in the 60s already. There's quite a few templates. I've done a few. I think this template is on their site as well. And then they do what they call a show and tell. Everybody shows off the spoons that they made, what they learned in the process. It's really, really lovely. It kind of pushes you to go out of your comfort zone of the things that you're used to. You kind of fall into this automatic spoon carving thing that we just go over with, just have our muscle memory and just redo the same spoon again and again and again. And once we're pushed to do somebody else's template, it kind of makes us take a step back, slow down in our process, not just run through it, kind of think about it a bit more. It's really nice. I feel that way every time I come to Spoonfest or Spoon Burn or any other spoon carving event or craft event. It really kind of gets me out of where I'm used to. So I do classes with different makers. I'll do a beginning class every year just to see how somebody else's process is. The same thing with your videos, Zed. There's so many talented makers out there. I've learned so much from each one of the videos. I think I've seen them all And all the way through. I don't skip through. I watch the entire 4-hour video every time.
So you just watch the short videos then?
Just the short ones, yeah. Not the full-length trilogies. So it's starting to get this cool little flowing form, right? It's starting to feel more balanced. Well, at this point, I'm pretty happy with how it's coming along. It's much closer to looking like a spoon. Now, this is the real advantage, I think, of using a template. I could just draw it on directly on the spoon, on the blank, but what a template gives me is the option to go back and double check everything and make sure it is right in place. Now, usually, like I said, there's a bit of flaring out, even if I try to make it 90 degrees. And of course, the change of the angle does make it a little bit smaller. So I can go back and do a nice, clean, new top view line using the template. So there we go. And now I have a new line that I can work up to make sure everything is right in place. I go around and work 90 degrees just around as I did before. Just cutting it up to there. This would be a lot easier if this cherry was not dry. There we go. Now, cleaning up this line, that's really what it's all about in the end. When we're looking at a spoon, we're really judging a lot of times this rim around here, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with. So just trying to take off all the little ridges to make the lines flow smoothly. That's what we're aiming for. So I'm going all around here, cleaning it up, pulling in, making sure all the lines are smooth. And then down here, just push like that. This is the point where I need to put on my glasses. Oh, okay. There we go. Now this is an area that a lot of people struggle with because we're getting two different grain directions coming in together. So the trick really is to make this area not as tight, kind of spread it out to a further area, meaning I'm coming down from here, I have a flat area where these two are going to meet, and then I pop up. How do I do that in the spoon? I just bring it in further down here a little bit. I kind of chase that, and then I can fade in. I've got more of an area I can fade in between the two, and then I can get a nice smooth transition. That's something a lot of people struggle with. Now here also people tend to have too much fun, and then this area goes too far and you keep chasing it back and forth. Don't fuss with this too much. Do what you can, and you don't want to have this area too offset. It's really hard to put material back on, as I said before. So the real trick is knowing when you've done enough. All right, now I'm gonna go to the bowl. If you'd like, you can mark it. You can just grab this and go all the way around, and that gives you a nice clean line to work to. And then here you're gonna have to freehand it a little bit. Like that. Back to my trusty, lovely hook knife, going all the way to the edge. So the side of and the depth of the bowl is pretty much the shape of your hook knife. You want it deeper down there and then kind of fade out nicely to here. You want this area to feel comfortable when you put it in your mouth, and you want enough area right there for it to shovel up a good amount of food so you don't have to work hard and go in twice. I like my bowls a little bit deeper than most other spoon carvers. I'm kind of going in down in there and then bringing it up and fading out slowly right here as well. I'm just looking for ridges to take down so it's all smooth. I'll flip it around and do the other side. Cherry really smells amazing, like marzipan. Even when it's dry like this. Okay, I'm happy with the bowl, nice and clean. You can fuss with it for hours. I'll probably go back and do a little bit more soon, but for now it is getting close. Now I'm going to bring this in closer around here, lower it down a little bit because I think I'm not going to play with that anymore, with that side profile. So, and I'm just feeling around here, making sure that I am getting an even, nice wall thickness all around. That's something that you really feel when you're putting it in your mouth. It's very sensitive. That's the thing with eating spoons versus all the others. You really could stir your tea with almost anything. Same with cooking, but with an eating spoon, you got to be a bit more sensitive. That's really the test, is how it feels when you put it in your mouth. So I'm just going to go around and take off material. Now, another mistake that some beginners make is they make this a little bit concave, just because it's a natural thing that we're pushing in, and then the knife kind of comes out. We want to make it convex out like that to really follow the contour of what's inside. So just watch out for that when you're doing your spoon, especially where it's difficult at the end where you have a lot more end grain. On the back of the bowl, I'm trying to break it down also to simple shapes. So right now I am making a line of facets coming in from the top facet that I have right here. This facet run all the way through to make sure I have the shape I'm happy with, and make it come all the way out and around to the end of the bowl. It's meant to look like I did it in one quick swoop. You know, just make it look easy, even though in this wood it's not.
Are you aiming for a general thickness in the bowl?
Well, I like them pretty thin. Now, it really depends on what I'm going to be doing with the spoon. So I like some spoons to be a little bit thicker than others. If I'm going to be taking it around with me, if it's going to be like a camping spoon or the one that fits in my bag for when I go to the office and I've got the spoon I eat my lunch with. So some spoons are more delicate and they sit on the shelf and I use them when I need. Some spoons I want to be a little bit tougher than others. So it really depends. It also depends on the wood. If it's a wood you're a little bit worried with, or maybe a wood that you're not familiar with, then you're going to want to go a little bit thicker in the beginning and kind of test the wood slowly and see. And that's this facet running around. That one's going to go all the way around to here. Now I changed the direction. Right here I was coming in. Now I'm past this ridge, so I'm going out. But most important is that it's consistent, really. Cherry hardens nicely, and you can go for a fairly thin spoon with cherry. I use olive wood sometimes, and you can go really thin with olive. It's fairly strong. You just have to really experiment or ask somebody who's used the wood and see what spoons they've made and how thin they can get them. But of course it depends. Each wood is a little bit different. If it does have a little bit of aging on it, like this one did, and has that rot area, that might not be, you might not be able to make it as thin. Or if you have a really pronounced crank like this one, you might not be able to get it as thin, just because, as you can see here, that's a lot of short grain running across here, so this area could be at risk. So this spoon is going to need to be a little bit thicker than I usually make, just because of that exaggerated crank I did. Yeah, one of my favorite things to come out here is to try different woods. Wherever I go, I try to carve the local wood and try out different things. And even if it's the same species, just the different climate really gives you a variety. Well, they grow faster in some places, and that makes really all the difference. It's like it's a different kind of wood.
Is that what you'd recommend to people, especially if they're starting out or in the kind of general stages of carving?
To try out different woods?
Yeah, to try out different woods.
Well, I think the first thing I would recommend to somebody that's starting out is find a local spoon club. Carve with other carvers, sit next to other people, watch them and how they work, and handle a lot of other spoons. That's first of all. You really learn a lot when you feel it in your hand. You understand the the wall thickness and all these little attributes of each wood really make a difference when you're handling it. So that's the number one thing. But yeah, trying out different woods is great. Deborah, whose allotment we're on, she is really great about that. She really tries every single kind of wood that she can, which is really nice. So there's a bunch of spoon carvers out there now with a lot of knowledge. We have a Facebook group that people just ask all the time if the wood that they see now is appropriate for spoon carving. And there's a lot of people with experience out there that know the answer, have tried carving the wood before. Okay, at this stage, got a little bit of hair right there. So when I reach this stage that I'm pretty happy with the way it looks from the top, I'm going to go ahead and start chamfering these corners, just breaking these little corners right here, making this pinch a little bit tighter. Going all the way around. Just like that. And then back around. This way, getting these lovely little curls all around and correcting just back and forth and looking for little ridges to remove all around wherever I can. It's a lot of fussing. It can go on forever. Make sure everything is nice and clean.
A question. Do you typically carve one spoon from start to finish, or do you kind of stop intermittently, move to another one, or how do you kind of typically?
Well, it depends. Some woods, like cherry, I probably, if I was here in the UK, I would let it dry properly. It depends on the wood. Some woods I prefer to do it completely. I do a lot of laquat. Laquat oxidizes a lot, and I prefer to finish it all in one go. It depends on the temperature and how wet the wood is. So it is nice to have dry wood to get a nice clean finish, but some woods would get a little bit fuzzy if you don't let it dry completely. So it really depends on the wood. I also feel I need to be in a certain state of mind to do finishing cuts. So at Spoon Club, for instance, I'm not always there. It's too hectic for me. It's not the quiet sitting down by the fire in the evening that I need for finishing off a spoon. So I'll probably put it in a basket and wait, and then when I'm sitting on my own or chilling with friends in the evening, then I'll do the finishing cuts. But wood like this, it's definitely dry enough now to do the finishing cuts. I do it all in one go. Because otherwise it just adds up. I have a basket with probably like 60 spoons in it that need finishing by now. At this point I'm going to take down these ridges to get the next facet. I said I'm doing a 5-faceted spoon. So I can just go over them again and again until I'm happy with the distances. Happy enough.
And you're using the tip of the spoon to achieve this?
Yeah, I'm using the tip of the knife. A few things about the tip of the knife. The way I sharpen the knife, I kind of raise it a little bit at the edge. I like this area to be convex. What we want in a carving knife is a completely flat bevel, except this area. This area I like to be convex, and that way I use it to go inwards like this. It can go in and turn a lot easier without getting chatter. And another thing it helps me is to get a nice turned curve inwards, and you get these nice curls. But you see it kind of threw off this one, so I just go back and do it again till I'm happy with the facets that I'm getting. Same thing here. I'll go to the back and take off these ridges and just see that the spacing between them I'm happy with. Usually I have a snail sitting on this finial right here, which makes it a lot more fussy, but there isn't one here now, so I can just kind of curve this around. There we go. That I can put instead of the snail. And it's done, you see? That works. Perfect.
So Oren, as you're just kind of finishing up, I thought it would be a good time to talk about drying and oiling. So starting off with drying, what is your process for drying the spoon once you've finished?
Well, it really depends on the weather. So if the spoon, if it's a little chunky of a spoon, let's say I'm making a ladle or something that I feel has a little bit more mass than any other spoon, than this for instance, I would be careful. Some woods also have a tendency of warping. Eucalyptus for instance, and mulberry have had a lot of warping lately. So if it's a wood that I'm afraid might warp, I will put it in a bag and do the whole inside out slowly drying procedure, which you can do on kuksas, on cups, or on bigger things. What it is you put it inside a closed bag, and the excess air in the bag and the spoon kind of normalize. They become the same humidity, and then you take the spoon out of the bag, turn the bag inside out, and then put the spoon back in. So that takes out a certain percentage of the humidity, and then you do that every day, even twice a day, and that kind of dries it much slower, and it gives it time to release all this tension inside. And then the potential of the spoon cracking, it lowers the chances of it cracking significantly. But I think on a day like this, with a spoon like this, I would just leave it out. I think it's going to be fine. About oiling, I like to use either linseed oil or tung oil. Those are the two go-to oils that I use.
And that's raw linseed oil. Yeah.
Yeah, raw linseed oil. The thing is with linseed oils, you have to be careful because you can get linseed oil at a craft store, but they would probably have linseed oil for oil paints. And that has something to help it dry faster, and that can be toxic. And we want to be putting these things in our mouth, so we don't want anything like that. So you can get linseed oil at a health food store, which would work, but you can also just get raw linseed oil, and it works really, really well. I'm not very fussy about my oiling like some others. I don't do the long curing processes that some do. It depends. If I'm doing a colrosing, like a decorating, or if I'm painting the handle or something of that sort, then I would let it cure completely. I would wait for it to dry, otherwise the color could come off. But if I'm just using it like this and I just don't want it to stain, which is really the real reason for me to oil, then I would just put one layer and maybe wait 5-10 minutes and go ahead and start using it. I find that for me it's been enough. Now, but the proper way to do it is to wait for it to cure properly. A lot of people are about burnishing. I just oil it and use it right away. I like to use the spoons. I like to see them right away, people eating with them. So I'm just playing around a little bit with final cuts. A lot of people would leave the spoon at this stage and come back to it when it's really rock hard. But I would like to get it done now so you can see it done. So it's just these final little ridges around and feeling where there's an area that's a little bit thicker or feels that doesn't flow the way I want it to, and fussing a little bit with the rim. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. No spoon is perfect, but we want it to be as close as we can before it's getting too far and then we've ruined it. So as long as you're not enjoying yourself too much and then you make a hole in the spoon, you can fuss around with it as much as you'd like. Now I go back and bring the rim a little bit closer from the inside. You see, just like that. Once I'm happy with the outside rim, now of course if this cherry wasn't so dry, then it would oxidize and I would have to go over the entire spoon again when I was doing my finishing cuts. Then I wouldn't get it this thin. I would leave a much bigger percentage, a lot more material for me to be able to remove when I'm going over everything. Because if I would get it too thin and then try to remove the material, I could ruin the spoon. So in this case, I'm very lucky that it's just dry enough for me to do finishing cuts while carving out the spoon and not have to wait for it, and then this way you get to see it pretty much finished. Just carefully to see that these lines are as parallel as they can. As I said, that's what we're really looking at. Our eye kind of jumps and compares the different lines, kind of like when you're hanging up a picture and you're looking to see the floor or the window or whatever is next to it to compare. Another important area, just at the end, is right here. I just want to make sure this lines up nicely because it kind of follows this curve around here. So I kind of clean this up and make sure that this facet runs around clean and continuous with this facet. In the end, this one runs all the way around, this one does as well, and then this one kind of flows over this ridge right there into the bowl. And that's a spoon.
So there you have it, my friends, and that is a wrap for this video. Oren, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Man,
Thank you.
the honor is all mine. I've known Oren, we've known each other for some time now, meet at the events and obviously within the community, and he's been top of my hit list, right, in terms of I need to get him on video. And so, yeah, logistics worked out on this particular visit down to the UK. The weather's been absolutely gorgeous. On a side note, I do apologise if intermittently the sun was like coming and going in clouds and stuff like that. It always plays nightmare with filming, but we tried to do our best to kind of dodge the direct sunlight during the filming. But we've been very fortunate. Once again, a thank you to Deborah Schnably-Morell for allowing us to use her beautiful allotment for the filming. Once again, I'm really, really chuffed that we got round to collaborating. Yeah. Oren is a very humble guy, but I can tell you right now, he's very well respected in the spoon carving community, very talented, and he's doing some incredible work that's coveted by a lot of people. I'm talking a lot of other highly skilled spoon carvers, so it's a real treat to be able to
appreciate that.
Capture his teaching, his thought process, etc. on video for you to watch. So just know that you guys watching Oren at work on this video is a real treat, as it is for me filming. We're always kind of fleeting at events and gatherings, but I never actually get time to just sit down and watch the entirety of the process. So part of the joys of filming is I get to see that in person. So a quick wrap up, guys, of this video, and things we mentioned at the beginning of this video and and during the video itself. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, this video has been broken down into different chapters. Once again, it is a long video, but as you see now, watching up until this point, Oren has left no stone unturned. So he's covered literally the entirety of taking a raw piece of wood all the way to a finished product. To help facilitate that, as we mentioned, there's the timestamps along the timeline of this video if you hover along. Also, they're broken down below in the description. As I mentioned at the beginning, YouTube has a core feature. If you click on the times on the left hand side, it will jump straight to that section. The idea with this video, and Oren demonstrating the way he has done on this video, is a teaching resource. So regardless of what skill level you are at, hopefully there's something to aid you within your carving journey. Another thing I'm going to do, there have been a myriad of things that have been referenced throughout this video, for example, tool makers, etc. What we're going to do is we're going to put links to pretty much all of those down below in the description. Feel free to check all of those out and support kind of the myriad of people that have been mentioned throughout the video. And lastly, in regards to those links, please do go check out Oren on Instagram. His Instagram is amazing. I have like short Instagram video envy. That was a mouthful, wasn't it? But his videos are amazing. Honestly, they're so good. But in general, like, he's such a creative guy and he documents a lot of it on his Instagram. It will mean the world to me. I don't even ask people to subscribe to my channel. It will mean the world to me if you get any value from this video whatsoever, to head over to Instagram, give Oren a follow on there, as well as check out the link to his website, which will also be down below in the description. Another thing we mentioned at the beginning of this video is potentially we're going to be filming a second video right here and now as we're recording this. So we can't make promises, but if we're able to succeed in filming that second video, then There will be a link below down in the description and also pinned to the top of the comments for you to check out. But we can't make any promises with that because logistics are pretty tight at the moment as we're filming today, but hopefully we're keeping our fingers crossed that we're able to succeed in that. So that's pretty much everything covered. And the final thing I want to part on, Oren, is those that are watching, obviously there's people on different skill levels. So as a kind of a parting short discussion is advice stroke your thoughts and your experiences that you can share with others to maybe help them on their journey. So starting off with beginners and intermediates and even people that are kind of experienced. Would you like to share some thoughts and advice for those, especially at the beginning stage of their carving journey based on kind of your experience?
Okay. I would say, especially in the beginning, try to stick to the process. Don't try to jump any steps forward. Try to make every step like it is the final product. Try to make it as perfect as you can. Don't necessarily try to run and do as many spoons as you can. Try to make each spoon as good as you can in the beginning. And for those a little further on in their journey, stay humble and learn from others. I keep taking beginner courses all the time. I feel that I'm always learning something new, and try to forget the things that you've learned, the bad habits that you kind of pick up along the way. Exactly. I know that for me, I had quite a few bad habits that I had to unlearn in the beginning, and I think that really helped me throughout my journey really evolve along. So I think those two would be really helpful for people.
A final thing I do like to touch on, something I'm also curious about, and we kind of touched on it briefly during this video, and that is, you talked earlier on about your main profession being product design and so forth. How do you feel that's played a part in your spoon carving? How much of a difference has that made in terms of how you approach it and what it is you do?
Well, I think a spoon really is just a very simple product, I guess. It really incorporates everything that you learn when you're studying product, or if you're looking at different products. You're kind of understanding flow, and you're understanding shape, and you're understanding material and how it works and how to apply it, and ergonomics, and a lot of it is about sensitivity to little details. And I think that plays a big part in this. You don't have to study it to understand it. We all use products every day, and we don't even know what it is that we notice in them. I think just keeping your eyes open and trying to understand the intricacies of little things around us really help in carving a wonderful spoon. In the end, it's you make these products that you kind of just want to hold on to and keep close to you and love, and I think spoons are great for that.
On that note, he's reminded me that part of being a cool spoon carver is you need to own one of Oren's spoons, the stone spoons. We have this I call it a spoon carving bingo, like what you tick off, and one of them is our Oren spoons. They're highly coveted. One thing before we actually wrap up, and I did only just remember this, is you kind of mentioned obviously back in Israel, you teach, you run a spoon carving club, an event, etc. But you also teach abroad as well, don't you? For example, you're here at the moment, teaching at Spoonfest. So in terms of like your teaching abroad, your demonstrations abroad, how do people find out about kind of those events and gatherings that you're going to be at internationally?
Oh, well, usually Instagram for me is the way I spread everything that I do, everything I'm planning on doing. It's how I kind of communicate to the rest of the world that's not coming to my spoon club. If you're not meeting me on Fridays to carve, then that's usually the way I spread out where I'm headed or what I'm doing. There's plenty of events all around. The community, I think, really does evolve and revolve a little bit around that platform. There's also some on Facebook. It's not as much as it used to be, but I think a lot of what's going on is talk back and forth and people sharing just inside the community. I think a lot of the platforms that it's shared on other than that is just local things. So each place has their own. I know that there is a few other small platforms that shared, but mostly Instagram is the way to see it. Yeah.
Amazing. So Oren, thank you so much once again It was a real honour for me to be able to spend time for you. And thank you as well for allowing me to document your process.
I'm glad it finally worked out. It's been
Yeah, I know. We've been trying to
serendipitous,
plan
hasn't
something for years, and finally the stars aligned, and that was it.
Perfect.
We were able to film. So guys, that is a wrap for this video. Thank you so much for watching all the way through, and really hope you enjoyed and gained something from this video. As I mentioned, all the links to everything that I mentioned are down below in the description. And finally, a gentle request from me, if you gain any value from this video whatsoever, to give Oren a follow on Instagram and let him know that I sent you over, and see the beautiful that the work and events, etc., that he gets up to on a regular basis. So with that being said and done, Oren, thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
The pleasure has been all mine. And guys, really do appreciate you watching all the way up until the end. And I shall see you on the next installment of a Z Outdoors video. Until then, I hope whatever you're doing, you have a blessed day, a blessed week ahead. From Oren, Hetzroni, and myself, Z Outdoors. Peace out.